Hi there, writers. Welcome to paper number 3. So this is the last paper of the course. After this, there's just the project. So I wanted to take some time to talk about what a good thesis statement for this paper might look like. We talked a little bit about thesis statements for paper number 1. However, that was more an informative paper. And so for this paper, we really need a good, strong argument, persuasive, problem solution type of thesis statement. By this time, before you viewed this video, you should have already taken a look at the assignment sheet for paper number 3. So if you haven't done that yet, please pause this video, open up the assignment sheet, read it through carefully, and then come back to this. When you are considering what to write for your thesis statement, you always want to return to the assignment sheet. To find the sentences where the instructor, the professor has told you what you should be doing in the paper, because your thesis statement will vary based on what the purpose of the paper is, what your task is, what your message is. So right here, I've just pulled the very first short paragraph, the prompt for this paper from the assignment sheet. So your tasks in this paper are to make an argument in response to the problem. So you're taking a position regarding the problem. Your position mainly is that this is a problem and we need to do something about it. Provide details on the causes and effects of this problem. So large sections of your paper will be devoted to what is causing the problem and what are the negative effects of the problem. Propose a viable solution or steps toward positive change, and persuade your audience to take action. So this is a persuasive paper, especially towards the end of your paper. You're going to make some appeals as to why your audience should care, why your audience should do something about it, and what you want them to do. So there will definitely be a clear call to action for your specific audience in this paper. That's a lot of tasks for this paper, and so we're going to need a very complex thesis statement here. The challenge will be making it complex without getting too wordy. So really quickly, before we take a look at the thesis statements, I do want to go over the structure of this paper, so what this paper will contain. First, of course, you're going to have an introduction that engages the reader, that pulls them in, maybe a personal story, maybe some descriptive writing, maybe a news story related to your topic, or a personal experience that somebody had or that you have had. That intro, of course, will have your thesis as well. Then you're going to have a section detailing the causes of the problems and the roots of those causes. So not just surface level causes, but what's really going on here. So for example, if you have homelessness, well, the cause of homelessness is people lost their homes, right? But what is causing that to happen in this community at such a high rate is something that you're going to want to explore. You will also prove that the problem exists and is significant. So there may be some people reading your paper who say, I really don't think homelessness is that big of a deal. It's not that common. And so you're going to need to prove that it is a problem that does exist. Some of this, you may reuse sections of your first paper, and that's okay for this section. You will also have a section proposing a solution or an appropriate response. Oh, I should say, by the way, in this section as well, you're going to talk about the effects of the problem. So who is it impacting? How does it impact individuals physically, mentally, emotionally? How does it impact communities? How does it impact the economy? How does it impact the culture, the country, the world? So you're going to get really, really detailed on those effects that prove that it is a bad problem to be happening. Then a section towards the end of the paper proposing a solution. So what do you want us to do about it? And this should be, government entities, community entities, but also what can the individual people reading your paper do? Should they vote a particular way? Should they put their money somewhere? Should they go do something? Should they change the way they think about things? Should they change the way they talk about things? So you want to speak specifically to your audience. At some point in the paper, and this will vary depending on your topic, you will represent and respond to opposing viewpoints. So maybe some people might disagree that it's a significant problem. Maybe some people might disagree with the way you're proposing to fix the problem. Maybe some people might disagree with some of the causes or some of the effects or some of your sources. So you will need to recognize that people might disagree with some of what you've said and respond to them using sources and logical argument. And finally, a conclusion, of course, that illustrates the significance of the issue and includes those strong appeals at the end to, drive your point home to the reader and compel them toward action. So your thesis really needs to represent all of these sections. So it is going to be a really complex thesis statement. Thesis statements in general, I really like to use these question words. A thesis statement should answer for your reader, what are you saying about your topic? Why are you saying that? Why do you think, what's your reasoning behind that position? So what? What do you want from us? And who are you talking to? Who do you want to do something about this? So the what is the position that you're taking on the topic. The why is your overall reasoning in support of that argument. The so what do you think should happen based on the argument? And then who needs to know this, or who do you want to take action based on the things you're telling us in this paper? So if you can craft a thesis statement that answers all of these questions for your reader, you're much more likely to have a good, complex, mature argument for your reader. Okay, so I've got some color-coded thesis statements here, but let's say you started with this, you're writing your paper about cyberbullying, and you want to argue, your position is that it's harmful and it needs to be stopped. This is actually an argument thesis statement. It's pretty simple though, it's very basic. It's fine as a thesis, but for a problem solution paper, it's pretty vague. It doesn't say why it's harmful, it doesn't say who should stop it, it doesn't say how it should be stopped. So I still have a lot of questions as a reader with a very basic thesis like this. So here's how you might take a very basic starting point thesis and make it more complex and mature. So since too many children suffer the long-term emotional effects of cyberbullying, school leaders need to implement more comprehensive anti-bullying educational programs and curriculum. That's so much better. I have a much better sense as a reader of what you're actually going to be saying in the paper. So this is sort of, a high school or a middle school type of thesis. This one is a lot more collegiate level, a lot more academic and mature. In yellow, we have the problem and then your stance on the problem. Too many children suffer the long-term emotional effects of cyberbullying. So we have a sense of the problem and why it's a problem. You'll notice in red we have audience, school leaders. So this paper is going to be saying what school leaders need to do about this. We have that should or need to phrase that helps us make an argument thesis. So I really recommend that you use a phrase like should, need to, must, can. That shows I am telling you what should happen, right? That is what makes a good, strong argument and persuasive thesis. And then your proposed solution is here in blue. School leaders need to implement more comprehensive anti-bullying educational programs and curriculum. So the paper then would prove that, right, what we would include in this paper is that it is a problem, that it does affect children in this way, and then that these types of programs do work and that they are effective, that they can make a difference. Let's take a look at another one. If this is what I wanted to say, this is the problem that my paper was about. College students from rural backgrounds face lots of unique challenges that make college harder for them than people realize. Here's how I could make that a little better than basic. So one problem is, what are those challenges? Another problem is, so what? What should we do about this? Who are you talking to? This one's better. So in yellow, we have the issue, the problem, to address the unique academic and social challenges of first-generation college students from rural backgrounds and ensure an equitable educational experience. So now I have a sense of why this matters, why we should care, because we want to ensure an equitable educational experience. We have a little better sense of what those problems are, academic and social challenges, so a lot more specific as opposed to vague. We have the audience and the solution here in blue and red. Universities should provide professors with professional development on how to change instruction and policies to meet these students' needs. So this is a much more specific, detailed, complex thesis statement. So this paper is going to do a couple things. It's going to prove that these challenges exist and prove that these challenges make education inequitable for this population. And then it's going to give me some examples of this type of solution and prove that this type of solution would be effective, that these programs would work. Here are a couple examples from my previous semester of Comp 2 where students were also writing a problem solution paper, and these were pretty good thesis statements. So here's what a thesis statement of yours might look like. This young lady wrote a paper about sort of the water crisis in America and how a lot of people don't realize that there are places in America, not just Flint, Michigan, where clean water is not equally available, often based on sort of socioeconomic status and geography and where you live and who you are. So, although many people have access to clean water, millions of people in the United States do not. So there's her problem, right? So the government needs to make clean and safe running water more accessible to everyone, and more people need to be informed on this serious issue. So wording is a little bit clunky here, but the thesis statement itself is pretty good. Here we have a sense of the audience. The government needs to make clean water accessible, and more people need to be informed. So she didn't just want to talk to the government. I mean, how likely is it that the government is actually going to read this paper? Not likely. But she's making an argument here that too many people are ignorant about this issue, like they don't know that it exists, and they need to be informed about it. We need to know more. We need to make an effort to know more. So a really good sense of audience here. Here's another one. This student wrote a paper about the pilot shortage and had some really good ideas backed up by research as to how that pilot shortage could be alleviated. So, although there is a looming global pilot shortage, the aviation industry, government agencies around the world, and the public must formally acknowledge the issue and present a plan to recruit and train more pilots to avert a global crisis. So we have a really good sense of why this matters. This will be a global crisis, right? We've got significance. Here we've got the problem identified, a looming global pilot shortage. A really good sense of audience, the industry, government agencies, and the public, and then what they need to do, right? Formally acknowledge the issue and present a plan to recruit and train more pilots. So this is a really nice thesis statement. And I do believe this paper was sort of a paper as well. So a good one all around from this young man. So just to remind you, your thesis statement should encapsulate the stuff, right? All the stuff that goes into your paper. And so we really want a complex thesis statement for this one.